Welcome to Getting to Know You. I'm Ingrid Reed, and I'm delighted to say Happy New Year to all of you out there, and Happy New Year to our guest, Mary Cannon.
Thank you.
We're so pleased that Mary's taking a few minutes from her busy schedule to sort of think about the year and also to make it possible for many of you to get to know her. We did a session maybe not quite 2 years ago, was it?
Yep.
And we were sitting outside, beautiful weather.
Beautiful.
We didn't wear masks, and
Nope.
and we decided we're wearing them today.
Yes.
Because it's important for everyone to be wearing them at this time.
Yes.
And so, in fact, we decided that we should really start that way. None of the fancy business of tell us about your year or who you are. We're going to start with, Mary, tell us what we need to know about COVID and how to be safe.
Okay, absolutely. It's so important for us now, even more so, to be safe during this time. It's a small window right now after the holidays, and we're seeing a lot of increases in cases overall in the community, and also out in the town. Okay, so what you need to know about COVID and what to do. Right now, actually I pulled something from the CDC, so I'm going to get it right.
Okay.
I want to get it perfect for all of you, okay? This is very important.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, if you test positive for COVID-19, regardless of your vaccination status, stay home for 5 days, okay? If you have no symptoms or your symptoms are resolving in 5 days, you can leave your house. But continue to wear the mask for 5 days, 5 additional days, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's important. If you have a fever though, you start to get sick, please don't come out, stay home, okay? You can call the clinic, and the clinic can schedule a time and a date to get your test done so that you can, find out whether you're positive or not, all right? That's important.
That's only if you are sick or think you are sick. It's not a case of where anybody can stop in and get a test just to make sure they're okay.
No, this is only if you have symptoms.
Okay.
So this particular time, I'm saying that if you are positive, you know you're positive, you have to stay home for 5 days, okay? And then wear a mask after that. If you were exposed to someone who's positive and you've been boosted, okay, you wear a mask around others for 10 days. You don't have to quarantine, okay, because you're not positive, you've just been exposed, all right? If you've just completed a series of vaccines within the last 6 months, Pfizer or Moderna, you also do not have to quarantine. If you've completed J&J within the past 2 months, you don't have to quarantine, okay? But you can test on day 5 just to make sure that you haven't tested positive, okay? But you do not need to quarantine.
That is for people who've been exposed.
That
to
is
people.
correct.
Right. Okay.
Okay. The last one would be if you haven't been vaccinated, if it's been a while, more than 6 months, that you've received Pfizer or Moderna, you will have to quarantine. Okay. If you've received the J&J vaccine over 2 months, you will have to quarantine. And if you're unvaccinated, you will have to quarantine. That's 5 days. Okay. And you must wear a mask for an additional 5 days. You should test on day 5. What they're finding is the virus is transferred a couple days before you get the symptoms. Then you get the symptoms, and then a couple days after that, it resolves. So it's a quick virus, okay? So it's important to follow those CDC guidelines. This is what they're telling us right now.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So I hope that makes sense to everybody, and I do want to tell everyone, please wear your mask. It's so important to wear the mask. A cloth mask is really not an effective mask. Wearing N95, KN95, and also a surgical mask like I'm wearing.
Right.
You're wearing what, the KN95. That's important. Please wear it properly above your nose and around your mouth, under your chin.
We're models.
We're models.
And even because Mary has stars on hers, it's still a surgical mask.
It is a surgical mask. It's a little decorative, but it is a surgical mask.
Yes. So that's good. So it's really the 5 days that's really important.
It is.
And there are people here that you can get advice from Don't talk to other residents for advice.
No, call the clinic, call me,
Right.
call the administrator, but we'll give you the right advice. We have updates on the state guidelines. They come in every day, and this is the most recent.
Right.
So 5 days is not too bad. 5 days of quarantine is not so bad like it used to be.
Right. I guess another piece that people have been talking about is that the dining room restriction is because of staffing and not because there's widespread COVID that we can't be together. And I understand that for the Saturday evening program, we're going to have the chairs separated, but everybody can come, but they have to wear a mask.
Yes.
And so the program committee is trying to think of how to be really thoughtful and pleasant to people, but remind them you can't come in the room unless you're wearing a mask.
Yes,
on
in a very
Saturday
nice
night.
way.
Yeah, that will be very nice. So
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep, so the dining room was remaining open except in the evening, as you said, for dinner.
Yeah.
And it's only because of staffing.
And that we
So-
can be in other people's apartments for shared meals if we want to.
Absolutely, you know.
To be happy.
Especially those who are vaccinated and who are boosted. You have no symptoms.
That's a new word in our vocabulary.
Boosted.
Boosted.
Boosted, if you're boosted. So I think that's important to know, and that you have no symptoms. If you don't feel well, don't take the chance. Stay home and then call the clinic. That's where you can stay safe,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
I don't think it's necessary to close our community down. I am avoiding large gatherings, though. We did close down
Yeah.
a couple of things. I think that's just a recipe for disaster. But small gatherings are great.
Or organized gatherings.
Or organized,
Yeah.
correct, yep.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, good. Well, Mary, maybe the segue is that when we first talked, you told us a little bit about your background and sort of what you did here at Stonebridge. We never anticipated that you'd be giving a lecture
On COVID.
on this weird virus and what you're supposed
Yes.
to do. But anyway, could you just tell us a little bit about, you came to Stonebridge before this position, but then it'd also be interesting to know, how did you ever get into this field? So could you
Sure.
give us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. So I started out in the hospital setting. I worked 15 years at Monmouth Medical Center. I think now it's called Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas. And I worked in the laboratory as a medical technologist. Worked with a lot of oncology, pediatrics, and adults. And then I moved on to assisted living. I went to school while I was working, learned about assisted living, and I received my certification as an assisted living administrator. Once I did that, I decided to keep moving, keep learning, and I learned about long-term care and skilled nursing. I went to school while I was a assisted living administrator, continued to go to classes, and got my license as a nursing home administrator. Once I did that, that was the career that I chose for a long time. And then after that, I decided, let me learn something new. So I moved on.
I forgot that part. Okay.
Yeah, I love to learn new things. I get bored, I think. So I like to keep learning, keep moving. And so I had an opportunity to interview for this community. CCRC is a place I've never worked in before. It's a new experience for me. Not now, but still learning. But it was a new experience for me. So. And I did become the administrator here on the campus. And then here I am as the executive director, starting out during the beginning of COVID, right? For 2 years. Yeah. So that was a big learning experience.
So you were, in effect, upstairs here.
I was.
For a while.
I was.
And that's a different world than...
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't say that. Do you think it's a different
I
world?
I do. Definitely a different world. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about, more of the frail, people who may have some more medical, conditions and, and dealing with everyday, medical issues and families, working with families and just the things that go on, that make us human.
Right.
Independent living is different. It's very active, very lively. A lot of wonderful people here. It's just I don't know. It's exciting.
And you have a very varied staff. that makes this all possible here, that you have to engage with. In fact, before I ask you if you would meet with me, I thought I wanted to see if people really wanted to meet you or felt they knew you.
No.
And it was very interesting. You know, I said, I'm going to do this interview with Mary Cannon. What would you like to know about? And there were a number of questions that were sort of, how do you relate to all the various pieces that they are familiar with? Sort of, like, could you ask her, does she have to do what Spring Point wants her to do? Or how does she plan with, how much does she plan with Spring Point? How important is that?
Yeah.
You know, on the other hand, how often does she meet with her staff? There's so many people here.
There sure is. There sure is.
And so many different things to do. So tell us a little bit about your life that has all these different aspects to it.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not very often in my office much. You know, I am out and about, and I do try to be available as much as I can. So that's why I have Magda help me, and she knows how to find me. So whenever folks want to meet with me, if I'm not here, Magda finds me. So I do talk to the Spring Point office. They're a great support system for me. Policies, procedures come out of that office. You know, things that are overall a Spring Point, process over all the communities at universal, right? That's what I use them for, is to manage consistency here. But every community is kind of handled a little different. We work according to the needs of the community, so we're all a little bit different. And Spring Point's great to be there when I need to bounce ideas off of, and they're there as my great support system.
But I gather there must be policies that apply everywhere.
There is.
That you need to know about, such as the financial arrangements. Is that sort of pretty consistent about
like the budgets and things like that? So
and also the financial arrangements in coming to Spring Point, coming to a Spring Point facility.
Yes, I don't make up the numbers.
Right.
You are right. I don't decide on that. So they do have set numbers, and we follow those numbers. Yes, and that comes out of our home office. You're right. I do meet with my staff regularly, once a week. So I probably have about 8 people who report directly to me, and I meet with them once a week. If I need to, twice a week, or as needed. So that's what I do. We do kind of split our basically our responsibilities. We have our healthcare administrator, and I, as the executive director, have different reports. So we kind of split healthcare and independent living, and that's how we're able to meet with everyone.
Right. So the independent living staff gets to know sort of everything that's going on.
Yes.
So they can be sensitive to people's needs.
Absolutely, and they bring to me any concerns. Residents may come to me with concerns, but my staff, in their departments, meet with residents, whether it's maintenance or resident services or any department, and they'll say, I met with Mrs. Smith, and this was her concern, and we addressed it together. And we like to respond as quickly as we can. But that's how I typically can find out what's going on sometimes, because I can't be obviously everywhere all the time.
Right.
So
Someone asked me, they said, I've never asked anybody about this, but everybody seems to know my name. Is there some way that they train people to remember people's names?
Oh, right. Yes, I know.
Is there a secret to that?
You know what? Anywhere I've ever worked, my goal was to always know everyone's name. And that's by repetition, by talking with folks. I do that with the staff and with my, the residents who live here. I think it's really important to put a face and a name together. And I know how I want to be called. I like to be called Mary. I don't want anyone to say, hey, you. I like to be acknowledged. So I think it's real important. And I remember how I always felt when people called me by my name, whether it was my boss or anyone, it made me feel good. So that's what I do. And I don't know about a trick to that. I think I look at faces, I look at pictures, I talk, I ask you over and over your name. I think some of those things might be repetitive, but I eventually get it.
Well, your staff seems to do a good job, because people sort of say, how do they know my name in the dining room?
It's
so
true.
the wait staff is just, terrific about that. So And I was wondering if, another thing that someone told me is that they really appreciated the session that you had with the new residents.
Oh, yes.
And they like meeting you,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't tell me what you discussed with them. What is your, how do you conduct that?
It's a
That-
secret. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
Since us old guys that didn't have that chance, so.
Well, so we do have what's called a newcomer's breakfast. It's
Right.
really nice. And so what Brooke will do, my resident service director, will invite, a number of our new folks coming in, so they get to know who we are. So we have this breakfast. I usually start the ball rolling. I introduce myself.
Yeah.
I let people know where I'm at and how they can reach me. And if they have any questions about the community and,
Right.
Why it's such a nice community,
Yeah.
right? I usually don't have to tell them it is, they already know it. They tell me.
Uh-huh.
That's how that seems to happen. But they get to meet all the management staff.
Oh, the management
It's
staff comes
wonderful.
too, yeah.
And we all have something to talk about. Brooke talks about, how to navigate around the community. We give out some, literature so they can refer to it. So there's a lot of good information that comes from that breakfast. And I would highly recommend it. We want to meet you, all the new folks.
Right.
It's important that we meet everybody.
Right.
So-
Well, I think if you wanted to do one breakfast a year where you draw names or something to pick old people, not old people, we're all old, but I
I
mean,
know what
older
you-
residents, I bet
Our
they would
longtime
really like that. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I wouldn't do it for everybody, but I think
Pick a
it's
few?
it's a nice idea, by lot or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lottery.
Right,
Okay. That sounds like a
So,
problem.
do you want to just give us some idea of what you're looking ahead to do this year once COVID is done? Is there anything on your list that you want to do this year that you haven't been able to do? Last year you opened the swimming pool. Just anything that you can think of other than just keeping the place happy and
Happy and moving, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to just opening up our community for, more events. People want to know who we are. I don't, with COVID, we seem to be stifled at times.
Right.
And so I want that ability to have more of that, to have staff events and gatherings where they can take their mask off and eat and just have fun. We had a small opportunity in December before the holiday.
Yeah.
But we kind of shut down after that.
I mean, the open house kind of thing that we had.
We were
up at-
having open houses, open house for
Yeah.
folks in the community,
Right.
but just even the staff, doing things for the staff as well to keep them motivated. And they're
Right.
tired, and they've been working diligently, and we want to make sure that we're doing things for the staff as well as the residents.
Right.
you
It's one of the things we've heard with the little group that we've had to think about DEI.
Yes.
That they really appreciated the opportunity to do things together with staff, and the Olympic
That was
event
great, yeah.
was just great.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of people here who would like to help you with anything like that. So
I appreciate that.
You have a resident community that
I do.
cares a lot, and we care about you. So.
Thank you so much,
So thank
Ingrid.
you so much for talking with Getting to Know You, and we can say Happy New Year. This is the first one of 2022.
2022.
I can't believe it.
I
But
can't believe
anyway,
it either.
I hope you have a really good year, Mary.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Ingrid. Same to you. Happy and healthy New Year, everyone.